Hello, my name is John Stockwell, and I'm the producer of this video on St. Maximilian Kolbe. One of the challenges I faced is that no video footage of Kolbe exists, and there are only a few historic photographs. So what you will see is as follows. Part 1 of the video is a brief recap of Kolbe's life, featuring historic photos of him, as well as photographs that I personally took in Auschwitz about 4 years ago. Then part 2 of the video is a brief recap of what was discussed, as well as key points that are needed on the rubric for this assignment in order for me to pass. Enjoy. St. Maximilian Kolbe was born Rodzmund Kolbe on January 8, 1894 in Poland. His father worked as a weaver, and he had 4 siblings, all brothers. In 1906, Kolbe had a visitation from the Blessed Virgin Mary. This would prove to be an event that greatly influenced his life. During the visit, Kolbe said that the Blessed Mother came to him holding 2 crowns. She had a white crown as well as a red crown. The red crown signified that he would become a martyr, while the white one meant that he would be a disciple of purity. Instead of picking one or the other, Kolbe says he asked Mary if he could have both crowns. Shortly thereafter, Kolbe decided to devote his life to Jesus Christ. In 1911, he took his first vows as a Franciscan friar. His final vows were taken in 1914. When he was a student in Rome in 1917, Kolbe founded the Militia Immaculate. Its purpose was to encourage devotion to the Sacred Heart of Jesus by encouraging each and every person to make a total consecration of themselves to His Blessed Mother. Their motto was, "Through the Immaculata to Jesus." Kolbe was ordained a priest in 1918 and went back to Poland in 1919. As for his education, he had a doctorate in philosophy as well as theology. Returning to his homeland, he began spreading his evangelization message with the Militia Immaculate. In 1922, Kolbe launched his monthly magazine, Night of the Immaculata. The magazine became so popular that 5 years later, Kolbe founded the City of the Immaculata near Warsaw. Although they lived in very strict religious poverty, Kolbe and his fellow brothers used the most modern methods available to spread the gospel. The Night magazine reached over 1 million people every month, and they also put out a daily newspaper that had over 230,000 regular readers. Kolbe is often referred to as the patron of technology for the new evangelization. He embraced everything that was coming out at the time and saw it as a means by which to share the gospel. Along with his printing press, Kolbe started a radio station, and before he was arrested, was working on starting a movie studio. Kolbe was not an obscure figure for the Polish people. This is in part because of the circulation of his periodicals. He was extremely well known, and it's hard to find a modern equivalent. Some say he was similar to Fulton Sheen, who had television programs in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. Despite suffering from tuberculosis, Kolbe also founded monasteries in India and in Japan. In fact, the monastery he founded in Japan is still in existence today and remains prominent in that country. In 1936, Kolbe's health began to get worse. He returned home to Poland, and shortly thereafter, Germany invaded his country. He was first captured and sent to prison, but released 90 days later. Since his father was ethnically German, Kolbe could have signed a document that would have recognized him as a German citizen, but he refused. However, the Nazis allowed him to continue his printing press. As a result, Kolbe issued many anti-Nazi publications. Finally, in 1942, Kolbe's monastery was shut down. He was arrested by the Nazis and taken to Piwak prison, and 3 months after that, he was sent to Auschwitz. When he was being taken to prison with the rest of his brothers, Kolbe turned to them and uttered the memorable phrase, "Forget not love," telling his friends that they were headed for a German concentration camp where they will be mocked, beat, tortured, and killed. However, Kolbe reminded his brothers the one thing the Nazis can't do is make them hate. In Auschwitz, priests were particularly harassed. Since they were the servants of God, the Nazis made them the servants of inmates. It wasn't unusual for a priest to even be crucified at the death camps. Kolbe arrived at Auschwitz in May 1941. In July of that same year, one of the inmates escaped from the camp. As a result, the Nazis decided to place 10 prisoners in a starvation bunker in an effort to deter any more escapes. This is when Kolbe volunteered to take the place of one of the men who was about to be sent to the starvation bunker. For the next 2 weeks, Kolbe led the prisoners in prayer and song, and he remained calm and focused on God the entire time. Finally, with Kolbe the only person left alive in the bunker, the guards gave him a lethal injection, which he peacefully accepted. Kolbe was canonized by Pope John Paul II on October 10, 1982. Present at the ceremony was the man he saved from the starvation bunker at Auschwitz. In summary, St. Maximilian Kolbe was born in Poland in 1894 and died in 1941 at the age of 47 at the Auschwitz concentration camp in Poland. He was the second of 4 sons born to Julius Kolbe and Maria Dabrowska. His father was German, his mother was Polish. When he was 12, Kolbe had a vision of the Blessed Virgin Mary. This would have a profound effect on his life. The grace from this visitation seemed to fuel Kolbe's spiritual life going forward. He wanted to evangelize the world to Christ through the Blessed Mother. In 1907, Kolbe and his older brother Francis illegally crossed the border between Russia and Austria-Hungary in order to join the conventual Franciscans. Kolbe took his final vows in 1914, adopting the names Maximilian Maria to show his veneration to the Blessed Mother. He continued to grow in virtue and zeal for the gospel before returning to Poland in 1919. Kolbe's prayer life can be described as cataphatic. God is love. On his way to Auschwitz with fellow brothers, he reminded them to forget not love and that no one could force them to hate. Kolbe's concept of holiness seemed to only get stronger with time. After his visitation from the Blessed Mother, he continued to grow in his faith and understanding of holiness. By the time he was put to death at Auschwitz, after volunteering to take the place of a condemned prisoner, witnesses say he seemed to be totally at peace and content with his fate, praising God and singing hymns the entire time. Conversion in one's life has been described in 3 stages: purgative, illuminative, and unitive. For Kolbe, it seems he leaped to the 3rd stage, unitive, early on. Although he was adept at modern forms of communication, published newspapers and magazines, and traveled to India and Japan, Kolbe was at peace and confident as he trusted God. The business of his life of evangelization did not derail his love for Christ. I like to think that if Kolbe were alive today, he'd be working beside me as I evangelize through digital media. We'd have the Kolbe podcast, YouTube channel, radio program, and more. What I found most helpful is that he demonstrated how one can do a lot of work, but at the same time stay focused on God. He is my guide and my mentor as I stay focused on Christ while editing videos, producing podcasts, and taking pictures. Kolbe is a true model when it comes to the relationship between prayer and service. Praying doesn't mean the rest of your life stops. It will continue no matter what. However, prayer should also be at the center of our lives. We should spread the gospel far and wide, but never lose sight of God. Kolbe encourages us to contemplate what can be done and to take action, all while trusting in Jesus through his Blessed Mother.